Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Insurance Benefits and Ledge Committee for Wednesday, the 7th of September, 2022. Terry?
Okay, thank you. This meeting is being conducted virtually, so I will do a roll call of the trustees to confirm attendance. Mr. Knox,
Good morning, I'm here.
Mr. Santos,
Here.
Ms. Gray, Ms. Gray. I see she's on. Mr. Bernstein,
I'm here.
Mr.
Gray-
Sanchez.
Gray is here.
Thank you. Mr. Sanchez, Mr. Moore,
I'm here.
Mr. Kehoe, Ms. Zapanta, Mr. Pryor, Mr. Harris,
Here.
Chair Robbins.
I am present.
Staff participating in the meeting include CEO Santos Kryman, DCEO Louis Lugo, AEOs JJ Popowich and Laura Guglielmo, Chief Counsel Stephen Rice, Legislative Affairs Officer Barry Liu, from Retiree Healthcare, Cassandra Smith, Director, and Kathy Magida, consultants Stephen Murphy, Richard Ward, Michael Zito, and Stephanie Messier from Siegel. Trustees, please use the Zoom chat option to be placed in queue. At this time, we ask all meeting participants to mute your mics until you are ready to speak, and we may now proceed with the agenda.
Thank you very much, Terry. Item 1A is the approval of the minutes of the August 3rd meeting. I need a motion.
So moved.
Are there any corrections or changes?
We need a second.
I need a second. I'll second it.
Okay,
Any corrections or changes? Seeing none, could you vote?
Ms. Gray,
Yes.
Mr. Moore,
Aye.
Mr. Santos,
Yes.
Chair Robbins.
I'm an aye.
The motion passes unanimously.
We are now on public comment. Is there anyone from the public contacted us wishing to address the committee?
I have nothing.
Thank you very much. Item 3A is a consent item. I'll accept the motion.
So moved.
I'll second it. All those in favor? Call the
Ms.
vote.
Gray, Ms. Gray,
Yes. Hello?
Mr. Moore,
Aye.
Mr. Santos,
Aye.
Chair Robbins.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. We're on item 4A, engagement report for August of 22. Mr. Liu.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Robbins and committee trustees. Some items of interest for you this month. So the first item involves CalPERS seeking to recover $1.8 million in retirement benefits from a retiree police chief who worked for the Broadmoor Police Department. They contract with CalPERS for retirement benefits, but it appears that CalPERS prohibits retirees from receiving both retirement benefits while they're working full-time. So you would have to basically suspend your retirement while getting a full-time salary. But with this individual, it appears he had been in a full-time role with compensation as high as about $173 per hour. So right now, CalPERS is seeking to recover this amount in administrative court, but in the meantime, they have to continue paying the retirement benefits until the case is adjudicated. There are some other individuals within the department that they may be seeking to recover benefits from, but they haven't said where they're going to pursue action against those individuals as well. The next item is regarding the CDC, and they've looked at the life expectancy statistics for 2020. As you know, that's the year of the pandemic. So basically in 2020, Hawaii had the highest life expectancy at about 80.7 years, whereas Mississippi had the lowest expectancy at 71.9 years. California was ranked fourth at around 79 years. And then as far as the difference between male and female life expectancy, Washington, D.C. Had 7 years, and Utah had the lowest difference at 3.9 years, whereas California had the difference of 5.8 years. And then for life expectancy at age 65, in other words, if you reach age 65, how much longer are you expected to live? Hawaii again ranked number one at 21 years, whereas Mississippi ranked last at 16.1 years. And then California was second with 19.5 years. And then between 2019 and 2020, New York had the highest change in life expectancy, and it's actually a decrease from 80.7 years to 77.7 years. As we all recall, during that early year of the pandemic, New York, had some real challenges. And then Hawaii, though, had the lowest change from 80.9 years to 80.7 years. And then as far as California is concerned, it's from 80.9 years to 70, which is a 1.9 year decrease in life expectancy. And then the next item is about an issue brief from the Center for Retirement Research at Boston College. They were looking at the status of pension funds between 2022 compared to 2021, when plans had really high investment earnings. And it found that the average funded ratio actually fell from 2021 at 77.5% to 2022 at 74.2%, which is about a 3 percentage point decrease. This was after plans had risen 4 percentage points in 2020 to 2021. It also, again, discusses the effect of inflation, which, it's again in everybody's mind, but the inflation index is 9.15 as of June 2022, which is the highest in 4 decades. It also discusses the various different ways that COLAs are paid. I believe I've talked about this in the past, but basically you have a fixed rate COLAs, ad hoc COLAs, investment-based COLAs, and then CPI-linked COLAs, which is the COLAs that we at LACERA pay. But as far as how many plans there are that use these different type of COLAs, about a third of them use a CPI-linked COLA, but then even so, a majority of plans still, cover only a portion of the inflation increase or puts a cap on a maximum COLA amount, again, which describes the LACERA COLAs. But otherwise, as far as fixed COLAs are concerned, about 29% of plans have a fixed COLA. 24% of plans have an ad hoc COLA. Only about 8% have an investment-based COLA. And then, everything else without a COLA or miscellaneous is about 3%. And then finally, the last item concerns the City of Portland's Fire and Police Disability and Retirement Bureau. So this is a plan that provides disability and retirement benefits for safety employees of the City of Portland. For those employees that were hired on or after January 2007, they're covered under retirement benefits under Oregon PERS, which is their state plan. But for those employees who were hired before this date, they're covered by the FPDR for both retirement and disability benefits. And by the way, the post-2007 employees are also covered under FPDR for disability benefits. The reason this is interesting is that for these employees, their benefits aren't really funded. They're basically paying on a pay-as-you-go basis that's funded by a property tax. So each year, the Bureau will ask the City Council for funding for those benefits for the Tier 1 and Tier 2 employees. And so it's very unusual. We all know that practically all pension funds, take employer-employee contributions and investment earnings, but apparently the exceptions are Portland, and according to a researcher from Callan, Puerto Rico are the only systems that sort of have this pay-as-you-go type of funding policy. And if you may recall, Puerto Rico itself has had some, really bad challenges with its own pension system. I believe it went through a bankruptcy restructuring. So that concludes my report. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Barry. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Lowe? Mr. Harris?
Just real quick, I think I know the answer, but it doesn't say which direction for the male-female differential. I'm presuming it means the females live longer than the males.
Oh, yes.
That would be a good guess.
That's general plan.
Yeah, it's bad news for me, but oh well.
So much for the weaker sex.
Yeah, I hear you.
Anybody else? Thank you, Barry. Interesting report. Glad I'm not the police chief in that CalPERS mess. Holy smoly.
Absolutely not.
Item B, staff activities report for August 2022. Cassandra.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Just one thing to report on the staff activity report, and that's that we conducted the United Healthcare performance review. Normally what we do during that period is we discuss how that plan is performing, the number of members in that plan, and the utilization. Nothing unusual with that with the pandemic. Things are still trying to get back to normal as far as the utilization goes. One other thing that I wanted to report on, besides the United Healthcare performance review, was you may recall back on August 1st, Retiree Healthcare hired on 3 new temporary staff. I'm happy to say that they're doing very well. They've completed the first phase of our training. They've completed the exam portion, all of them successfully completing it. They are now currently in phase 2, which they're sitting in tandem with the veteran staff, listening in to see how the questions our members are asking, how our staff are expected to respond to members, and if they have any questions, how to outreach someone to get immediate responses, either via chat or taking a message from the member. They are expected to complete the phase 2 training exam in a couple of weeks, and then they'll go into phase 3, where they'll begin taking the calls themselves with veteran staff listening into them, making sure that they're responding correctly to members' questions and assisting them in being able to satisfactorily respond to members' inquiries. And with that, that's all I have.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions for Cassandra? Seeing none, you're already up on the screen, Mr. Murphy. It's all yours.
It's all about being efficient. Good morning, everyone. Here's a recap of the claims experience through July 2020. Again, first page is just a summary of the distribution of enrollment and premium costs. The second page, we've updated the top chart, the historical non-Medicare carrier renewals. This is to reflect the most recent negotiations for the 2022-23 plan year. As you can see, the results for all the carriers are significantly lower than the benchmark of 7.4%. So again, appreciate the partnership on the vendor's part. In terms of a year-over-year experience trends, both Anthem and Cigna are consistent with last month's results. And while Kaiser's results are high, they are trending lower than last month's 30.5% increase. And we'll get into a little more detail on that in a moment. This page, again, is a summary of the plans for Anthem across the board. In aggregate, the Anthem year-over-year trend is unchanged at 8.7%, and that is fairly consistent with what we're seeing for just general healthcare trend inflation at the moment, so we seem to be performing as expected. The latest chart is an update from Kaiser, and based on this information, the year-over-year change remains high due to continued influence of 6 large individual claims, each in excess of $500,000, and this is kind of accentuated by looking at the severity of these claims. We see about a 23% increase in the number of inpatient days per 1,000 compared to the prior period. The next exhibit is the snapshot of stop loss. So again, you can see the influence of the large claim activity on Kaiser and the far right-hand side of that chart. The monthly or the prescription drug rebate summary is unchanged. We'll have an update from CVS next month, and we'll bring that to the committee. And then what we're seeing on the last exhibit is for vision and claims. Dental claims are trending at about 7.3% year over year, down slightly compared to last month's report at 7.8%. And lastly, vision claims are trending at 3.1%. This is down significantly compared to last month's report at 8.1%. So we'll continue to monitor that. But that's a quick recap of the claims experience. Any questions?
Go ahead.
And then if there are no questions, I'll go right to federal legislation. So there's one trending item that we're working on your vendor partners with, and that's the prescription drug reporting deadline. The deadline for the 2020 and 2021 plan years is approaching December 27th of 2022. LACERA is insured, so our expectation is that your vendor partners like Kaiser will handle the reporting. Kaiser's confirmed that already, and we're waiting to hear back from Anthem, UHC, and others just to kind of validate that process. But just wanted to make you aware we're working on that and making sure that that will be handled. So any questions from committee members?
Any questions for Steve? I got something that's relevant, Steve, to your report, but I'll bring it up on the good of the order.
Good, great, thank you.
Items for staff review. Terry,
I have nothing.
how about items for future agendas? Item 6.
Have nothing there.
Anybody on the committee have any, think about it, and if you do, then shoot us an email and we'll think about stuff you might want to talk about. Good of the order. Anyone have anything for good of the order?
No.
Mr. Moore? Nothing?
No, what? No, I don't have anything.
Okay. Well, I got something I'll bring up real quickly, and it was in response to an email I got from a retiree who has a wife that has significant retiree health care bills piling up. Gonna surpass the $1 million cap, I'm sure. But the thing that was interesting about their story was that she's been taking an extremely expensive drug for arthritis. And it's a designer drug, and some of the retirees seem to think that the only cost to those drugs is the $50 copay that they make for those expensive drugs, when in fact this drug was costing around $10,000 a month. So it's expensive stuff, and apparently there was a substitute drug that was like 1/10 of what the cost of the brand drug that they were taking was. So, and in talking with Cassandra, Kathy, wanting to know what it is we monitor with this stuff, I'd forgotten that we can monitor the total overall cost of a retiree's healthcare costs. We don't know what is happening to them. We don't know what drugs they are taking. We don't have the ability to dig into that information because of HIPAA. So we don't know necessarily what it is that these people simply didn't know that Caremark was charging against their major medical this extremely costly arthritic medication. So, you know, somewhere along the line, our retirees have to take a little responsibility for themselves and look at what's going on and ask questions and see if there are substitutions. They've since substituted this particular drug, but if she lives long enough, and she probably will, she's going to exceed the cap. They're not Medicare eligible. So I don't know what'll happen with them. I'm sure I'll be hearing more. He's a retired captain on the sheriff's department. So it's interesting, but you know, and when you talk to members of the supervisor staff who basically don't understand what the big deal is about our issue with the lifetime cap on the Anthem Blue Cross, and their comment is, well, you can just move them to another insurance plan. Somewhere along the line, some of those people over on the 8th floor ain't getting the memo about what the real cost and what the problem is. Obviously, they didn't attend some of the informational meetings we've had, but you know, if we could move everybody to another plan, this wouldn't be an issue. Anyway, I saw you inch up in your seat, Mr. Kryman, but this was an interesting one. So, but we don't know exactly what's driving up some of these bills because we don't have access at LACERA because of the law to dig into this stuff. So we need a little help from our retirees, but they also need to help themselves. I am done with my good of the order item.
Yeah, can I just wanted to inform the committee members that we are scheduled to meet with the County of Los Angeles on Friday on the $1 million cap. And so it would be helpful if Cassandra and I understood this particular issue a little further. And so we can definitely use it as an example of, the challenges that we're facing, and the wrong-headed thinking about moving people, simply moving them to another plan isn't sufficient. So Cassandra and I will be in contact with you just to talk a little bit more detail so we have a better understanding.
Yeah, Santos, I also was curious as to why maybe CVS Caremark, I don't know how aware they are of the fact that we are one of those few plans out there that does have a lifetime cap. I mean, when the Affordable Care Act was passed, most all of the retiree plans out there were exempted as long as they had active employees enrolled, commingled into their plan group. But because we were a retiree-only plan, we did not get the benefit of the Affordable Care Act, elimination of lifetime maximums and caps and stuff. So, and I'm sure that we're probably one of the only clients that Caremark has that falls into that category, and maybe they just didn't think about dropping a dime to these people and making a suggestion that you might want to look at. Of course, it's a doctor-patient decision too. So, there's a lot of things to consider in all of this, but the fact is it's complicated.
I am planning on attending a meeting with CVS Caremark at the end of the month, and this is certainly something that we can discuss or bring up with them to see if there's any thing they can do to assist us. And Mr. Kryman, I am aware of the case that Les has, so I have the information for us.
Perfect, thank you.
Does anybody else have anything for the committee before we adjourn? I would accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moore. We're adjourned.
Okay, so